All right. All right. So, all right. Let's turn off the music. You guys find a seat. You guys, everyone here. Find a chair. Find a chair. Head to the person who's next to you and tell them to find a chair. Justin. Can you get the TV? Oh, there we go. All right, so if everyone, guys, come around this way.
You guys, grab a seat.
Come around this way. Take a chair. Take a seat. Here, come take a seat. Here, you guys.
Okay, so we're hosting a decentralized science meetup.
Welcome everyone. Thank you guys for coming to DeSci NYC. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you also to our co-sponsor tonight, BBS, for also thank you to Ray, our wonderful DeSci DB-DAO helper and product person. And also thank you to Gunnar, who we will be hearing more from in a moment. Thank you. Do we have a noise? Yeah. Okay, so for those of you who don't yet know, decentralized science is about how you can use the blockchain. Guys, if you're talking about okay, those of you who don't yet know, decentralized science is about how you can use the blockchain to improve science. So that's about how you can improve funding, how you can improve data, how you can improve publishing, all these types of things. So tonight we're going to have some amazing things going on. Firstly, we're going to have a talk by ResearchHub, and what ResearchHub is doing is they are changing the way we're doing publishing. People are doing publishing using the blockchain. And this is very cool. We're going to have Patrick here. He's the co-founder of ResearchHub. The other co-founder of ResearchHub is Brian Armstrong, the founder of Coinbase. So that will be very exciting. And then secondly, we're going to have the first ever Sci Doge Awards. Now the Sci Doge Awards recognize greatness in decentralized science. So we have 7 projects that have been carefully, and I'm not joking, we have actually gone over all the DeSci projects and carefully looked at every single one of them and chose the 7 best in each of the categories. And we are going to recognize them here tonight, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so just a thing about DeSci NYC. We have speakers once a month. We've hosted people like Martin Shkreli. We've hosted the person who invented the NFT. We've hosted people that are doing research on bees. We've hosted lots and lots of things. If you've missed any of them, you can go to DeSci.NYC. All the videos are there and recorded. We also have this like group chat where we talk. So you can apply to be part of the group chat. We try and keep it people that are doing DeSci or DeSci related things. So if you're interested in that, you can scan this QR code and apply there. The link is also on the DeSci.NYC page. So if everyone got that. Okay. So the second thing we have, and if you're interested, we're hosting another one. This is the next DeSci NYC event. If you'd like to preemptively register for it, we don't yet know who the speaker is, but this is the Luma for it. Oh, also, thank you to Luma. They gave us like a free year-long research subscription. So shout out to Luma. They were very kind on that. Thank you, Luma.
Yeah.
If you want to go to the next one, go to luma.lu.ma/DeSci-NYC7. Everyone get that? Okay, cool. So this event is also sponsored by DBDAO. That's the company we started. DBDAO is like an on-chain database. So every row in the database is an NFT that can be bought and sold. We have token-gated access to that database. So only if you hold a specific token are you able to view that data set. And you're then able to sell the data in that data set. And that data is then, if you guys have the data, then you're able to sell it to other people and gate it. So if you have a data set of 100 rows, and someone buys that data set for $100, each of the people that contributed one row earn $1. And this is very cool. So DBDAO, if you're interested in learning more, come speak to me, come speak to Ray after the event or whenever. This is very cool. This is the first time that this is like coming out. We've been doing these. This is the 6th DeSci NYC event that we've hosted, and we've had people come up and say, "Hey, we want to get more involved in decentralized science. We want to learn more. We want to start our project. I have this idea in my head that I want to start, or I have a company that I'm doing, and I think it would be a really good fit for decentralized science." And people didn't really know how to get started. So we created this new program called Sci Combinator, and it's a 4-week program where we're going to make cohorts. We already have 5 amazing projects that have applied and have been accepted. And we are now sort of opening it up a little bit more to make this an even more amazing batch of people. So I don't think you're going to want to miss out on this first opportunity. You're going to get amazing mentors. You're going to get a demo platform. We have funding if you guys want funding. If it's like your full-time thing, we can definitely work on that with you guys. And I think this is going to be like an important thing in creating more DeSci projects in the ecosystem. So if you want to apply, you can go to scicombinator.xyz. It's a 4-week program. Make sure to apply by June 15th, although priority will be given to people that have their stuff together and apply early. So don't miss out on that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to have Mr. Research Hub come speak. So to introduce him, we have Ray. Ray.
Hello guys, I'm Ray.
Hello.
So when we did the DeSci research early this year, I found out ResearchHub is a really amazing project. They're a publishing platform using decentralized technology that can allow all the scientists to publish their work, and they're using their own token to incentivize people to do that. So I want to introduce Patrick. He's the co-founder of ResearchHub. He's a former PhD student in molecular biology and a former math student who dropped out of academia to help the broken incentives of scientific funding and publishing. So I want to introduce Patrick online.
Yeah, all right. Patrick, are you here? Patrick, are you here? There we go. All right. Patrick is here. Justin. You can share your screen, Patrick. You can share your screen, Patrick. You can share your screen.
Let me know whenever you guys want to.
All right, I think we're ready. All right, guys, here we are. Patrick.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. Yeah, just let me know whenever you guys want me to kick it off.
All right, I think we're ready.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. This is like a pretty impressive crowd, so it's kind of great to see like the energy coalescing around the DeSci space. So big time shout out to Michael and Rui for organizing everything. This is really cool. Yeah, so I'm here today to talk about ResearchHub and the role of incentives in academic science. Just a little background on myself. My name is Patrick, and I'm one of the co-founders and COO of ResearchHub. When I was in college, I was a huge science nerd. I was really lucky in that I got to do undergraduate research at Johns Hopkins studying tumor biology in a HHMI-funded lab, Howard Hughes Medical Institute. It was like the perfect research environment for a young scientist. There was maybe 30 people in the lab. It was extremely well funded. The PI had basically the freedom to explore the theories that he was most interested in. And the result was an extremely like intellectual and curiosity driven workplace that was just a blast to be a part of. Based on this experience, I fell in love with research, decided to do a PhD in molecular biology at Boston University, and very quickly found that not all labs are quite as lovely to be a part of as a HHMI-funded Hopkins lab. Just to give like 3 specific stories that I think help to illustrate some of the issues that exist within academic research. The first rotation I did was in a lab looking at the development of Drosophila embryos. And there was maybe like a 5th or 6th year PhD student who had like multiple Nature papers and had already been accepted to a postdoc at MIT. And so this person was like the golden child of the PI. And it became very clear from day one, the way to succeed within academia is about getting publications in very prestigious journals that you can then show off and use as like essentially evidence of your quality as a scientist. So that was the first lab where it was ingrained into me how important publications were. The second experience I had was in a cancer lab looking at the epigenetics of hepatocellular carcinoma. There was a grad student there who was kind of like the opposite end of the spectrum. Essentially, they were in their 9th year of their PhD program. Normally, PhDs like are 5 to 7 years max in microbiology, at least. And so this person had completely run out of funding. They were essentially like sleeping on a friend's couch and paying for their own reagents out of their pocket in order to get the results they needed to like impress a subjective like committee to get the degree he needed to then go do a postdoc somewhere and make like just under $50,000 a year. And so this was crazy to me because talking to this person just one-on-one as humans, they were really bright and hardworking. And like for whatever reason, like the results just didn't fall their way. And so they were stuck in a situation that I was not very envious of. And yeah, like the last experience that I had in grad school that kind of like encouraged me that maybe academic science wasn't the best career for me personally was in a synthetic biology lab that was fascinating. It was like one of the most interesting like laboratory experiences I've ever had. It was actually somebody doing early stage CAR T cells, which are now like very like a big staple of synthetic biology. And this person was maybe in their mid to late 30s, so technically still an early career researcher. And they had had about as much success as humanly possible at that point in their career. During their postdoc, they had like 2 or 3 Nature papers. They were essentially one of the most like well-published early career researchers in their department. But regardless, he still had to go through the process of applying for a grant. So there was maybe like 6 months while this like extremely successful early career researcher was applying for an R01 where they were kind of walking on eggshells throughout the lab. Like essentially their whole career was tied to a group of PhDs in like grant review committee, giving him the thumbs up to move forward with his research, despite the fact that he's already demonstrated himself as a very talented researcher. So yeah, this to me kind of like demonstrated that even if you're like at the absolute top of your field, there's very little job security. And this person basically told our lab that if they didn't get the grant, like they had young kids in the area, they were going to have to move to a new institution, pull their kids out of school. And there was just a tremendous amount of like stress that had nothing to do with doing research that was put on this person purely based upon the way that funding is distributed within academic research. So it was pretty clear to me that kind of like the structure of funding and publishing science, like not only like wasted a lot of money, but also wasted a lot of human capital and just really like quality of life for the average like academic scientist. So I decided to leave with a master's, started medical school, very interested in mental health and psychiatry. And I was very lucky and got to go to Georgetown where like they place a huge emphasis on getting students into the clinic like almost immediately. So I got to see firsthand that like a lot of the medications that we use in psychiatry, like they're really effective in certain subpopulations of patients, but we use the same drug for like anxiety, depression, PTSD, OCD. It's like 60-ish years old. And across all of the patients that it's given to as a whole, it's like slightly better than a placebo. And so to me, it was like, what is going on here? Like, this drug doesn't work that well. Kind of our understanding of ways to treat psychiatric, conditions don't work that well. When you look in the pipeline of like what was new and exciting coming up for like anxiety, depression, they were just like plants essentially. It was like cannabis and like magic mushrooms and like natural products and not like a lot of like lab derived innovation. And that's not entirely true. It's kind of like a simplistic picture, but it is kind of representative. And so I was frustrated by this. I thought like, hey, like maybe part of the reason for this like lack of clinical therapy is this broken pipeline for funding and publishing academic research. So I decided to take a year off, kind of ignorantly take a stab at trying to build my own company. And so over the course of a couple of years, I ended up like raising a little bit of money, getting a V1 together, but kind of like Reddit for science. At the same time, Brian Armstrong, the founder of Coinbase, published a blog saying, hey, academic science is like pretty messed up. Like someone out there should try and build like a Reddit for science with like new token incentives. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, hopefully my parents don't think I'm crazy anymore. And I got in contact with him, and we've been building ResearchHub together for the past couple of years now. So it's kind of like background on how like I'm like approaching this problem. And it turns out that like there actually is a tremendous amount of waste in academic research. I'm sure a bunch of people here are familiar with it. And this kind of headline is a little bit hyperbolic in theory. But yeah, there was a famous paper in 2009 published in The Lancet where two like big researchers essentially tried to claim that 85% of all research funding is wasted. And so they've got the nice little drive the point home sentence here that it's $170 billion, which is somewhere between the GDPs of Kuwait and Hungary in 2009. And when you break this down, this is the figure from that paper. The authors like suggest a lot of reasons why they think 85% of funding is wasted, but what kind of can be translated as a broken infrastructure for funding and publishing research. Essentially, they believe that the grants that were funded or the projects that were funded were more kind of like intellectually interesting to the grant review committee, more so than like driven by market incentives, or really like how is this going to like push forward innovation towards like a specific goal, like treating depression and anxiety. The way that funding is distributed kind of pits researchers against each other. So it's not like all of the neuroscientists looking at the effect of SSRIs in like people with general anxiety disorder, they don't like work together. They kind of have this weird like frenemy relationship where in theory, like anyone who's working on the same problem as you can publish your ideas before you do and take away your credit and therefore your ability to get funding in the future. So there's this like totally unnecessary competition that exists that's purely just like a downstream result of the way that we distribute capital. And so like if you know, I'm competing with the person next to me on like the exact same like subject, how do I prove to the funder that I'm better than this person and like more worthy of their money? Essentially you publish in high impact journals, like the first kind of experience I described, where if you have a couple Nature papers, it's like pretty reasonable to go get a postdoc at a great institution. You'll end up being a research professor somewhere. Unfortunately, this kind of like empowers certain for-profit publication entities that will basically reduce reporting. And in addition, because it hurts scientists to have like a poor publication record, they just won't share results that aren't interesting. So this results in the desk drawer problem where negative results will not be shared because like in actuality, they're bad for your career. So there's no incentive for you to share them. And at the end of the day, like you can't even really blame scientists. It's something like 2% of first-year PhD students end up becoming research professors. So the deck is stacked against everyone who's participating in the ecosystem. And you almost have to try and engage in these behaviors in order to just have a chance at like a career in research. So yeah, just like pulling back out from a high level view, there's like a clear issue in today's scientific economy. Everyone's familiar with the replication crisis, not just in psychology, but in biomedical research as well. And I'm sure lots of other fields where like at minimum, 50% of research is not able to be reproduced. I've seen estimates as high as 85% of this as well. I mentioned like the broken job market for like well-trained academics. And then the end result of this, which is a hyper-competitive publisher pairs culture that wastes a lot of money for research funders. So just wanted to take a second and linger on the words of Web3's favorite centenarian billionaire. Sometimes the solution to a behavior problem is simply to revisit the incentives and make sure they align with the desired goal. So I'm going to follow his advice and look at an overview of the academic economy, kind of like how I think of the three major players here and what their incentives are. The first is grant givers who have money and what they want is new knowledge. So I like to think of this as like the example Susan G. Komen, which is a breast cancer nonprofit. They collect donations from people who care about breast cancer, and they distribute those donations to researchers to try and come up with new knowledge to, in theory, like help the clinical treatment of breast cancer. And then we have scientists who are actually doing the research. They have the ability to convert money into new knowledge. And what they want is the ability to do so. As I mentioned, only 2% of first-year PhD students can become research professors. So there's a pretty big incentive for them to do whatever they can in order to get the capital required to do research. And then finally, publishers are kind of the third entity. They have distribution, and what they want generally, although this is kind of changing in the recent years, is profit. So they kind of engage in behaviors that in theory are like maximized by the company's bottom line at the end of the day. I think to like fully understand what's going on here, it makes sense to take a second and like really empathize with the grant giver. So if you're Susan G. Komen, right, you have $1 million to give to breast cancer research, and there are 5 different research groups that apply to receive this $1 million of funding. Like, what are you going to do? How do you decide like who to give the money to that in theory has the best chance of giving you a good ROI on that funding? And then eventually like improving the fight against breast cancer. So the issue is that it's basically impossible to holistically measure scientific quality. There are plenty of examples where very, very important findings were not recognized until after the researcher's career, kind of like artists to a certain degree. And so we're kind of stuck with these imperfect like metrics where we sort of like infer scientific quality, or at least funders use these metrics to infer scientific quality and inform their own grant making decisions. And so these are essentially called bibliometrics. Bibliometrics or citation-based metrics are used to quantify a researcher's productivity, so how often they publish, and then their impact. So when they do publish, how often do other researchers basically incorporate their science into their own work in a way that it's cited within the second scientist's eventual publication? The way that we actually measure this in today's world is something called an impact factor. It's kind of like getting out of vogue a little bit now, but it's a quality metric for a journal. So it's the number of citations divided by the total number of papers within the journal, and it's normally averaged out over a 2-year period. We also have an H-index, which is like kind of complicated to explain, but it's more or less like an average number of citations per paper that you put out, with some of the outliers kind of like softened away. And so we're kind of presented with this issue when you think from the perspective of Susan G. Komen. Scientists are really smart. Like, they understand that their work is being measured using these bibliometrics. And since it's so competitive, to even have a chance at success, not even success, just like a regular career within academic research, you have to do whatever it takes in order to maximize your bibliometrics to become eligible for funding. And so we're all familiar with Goodhart's law as well, where when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure anymore. So please excuse the outdated meme format here, but this is like kind of what happens in actuality. In theory, because funders signal that they want high impact factor publications, researchers are more likely to kind of tailor their content towards what can more easily be published in a high impact factor journal. So instead of more original research that in theory could like help push scientists towards like a better treatment for breast cancer, they publish editorials and review papers because it's lower effort and more likely to be published in a high impact factor journal that will earn you a lot of citations down the road. At the end of the day, these are kind of the behaviors which this like sort of bibliometric driven funding infrastructure encourage within academic scientists. Basically, I mentioned an unhealthy competition that people will engage in order to get the most number of publications they can. They're like weird things that people will do to try and maximize the impact or number of citations that their publications have. They'll not report negative results. They'll hypothesize after the results are known. So in theory, trying to find more interesting conclusions than they originally set out to find. And then, of course, they'll publish in paywall journals and help to create content for kind of rent-seeking for-profit entities that disseminate scientific knowledge. And then, yeah, the downstream effect of this is like a really inefficient system. And at the end of the day, as Susan G. Komen, I want to get the most bang for my buck. And so the way that I'm currently distributing research capital through like grant-based traditional funding mechanisms ends up wasting me money because I'm incentivizing good people who just want a career in science to do not good things just to like have a chance at surviving within this publisher perish culture. And so I think this is a great quote that kind of like summarizes sort of what's going on today. Today, I wouldn't get an academic job. It's as simple as that. I don't think I would be regarded as productive enough. And so we all know Peter Higgs. He did the theoretical work for the Higgs boson. He has a publication record where it's a little bit more high impact and like less frequent. So he would
by the way, Patrick, we have like 10 or so minutes left, so just FYI.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can kind of like flow through the end here and get to questions. Yeah, basically the big picture is that like, and people talk about blockchain a lot, like as a hammer looking for a nail, right? But here in academia, we have like a like old school funding structure that creates a bad incentive system for participants. And in this case, blockchain is actually like a great tool in order to help solve these problems. And so to talk about what we're building at ResearchHub, kind of the V1 of our product is like a Stack Overflow for science. People can post papers, they can upvote them, they can comment on them. You can publish original content. So we have like a electronic lab notebook where people can share like non-research or previously published research paper type of content. We have someone who likes to summarize and annotate all the human lab podcasts. You can ask questions from other scientists. So we have a bounty feature where you can use the research coin you earn on the site to help incentivize specific content creation. So this is a pharma like investor who wanted to do interviews with neuroscientists in order to get a lay of the land. And he put out 10K research coin bounties and hopped on a couple interviews like within a few days. In addition, people have asked questions from other scientists to help improve protocols and help them actually like get research done in the lab. And then finally, you can earn tokens for sharing your knowledge. And so just like one example of this I want to highlight. We're kind of doing peer reviews on bioRxiv papers. So here's one that I did over the weekend where I shared a peer review, had a couple of questions about the results. And I think within like 2 days, yeah, so one day ago, I asked this question, put a 2.5K RC bounty on it. Within a day, there's an expert who basically provided more context. And so, yeah, you have the ability to like earn tokens for sharing your knowledge. In the future, we want to build like kind of GitHub for science functionality and then eventually get into funding. Here's our team. Very lucky to work with Brian. Kobe's a former Sotheby's engineer. Pat worked at Apple for a little while. Here's our foundation. And then, yeah, I'll leave everybody with this quote. But if anybody has any questions, would love to talk more. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? You can come up to the mic and come speak. Come on up.
How close?
Just here's good.
Okay. So you said that people can like self-publish research through your site. How do you deal with like bad science, like pseudoscience ideas overcrowding good science?
Yeah, so we're still very early. We haven't even had examples of like low quality research that would be published in like a paper mill or something like that. We have had like essentially spammers. So people who are using like LLMs to just try and coin farm. But the way we've tried to combat against this is by hiring editors, which are kind of like academic moderators who earn research coin salaries, for lack of a better term, in order to essentially help to grow each individual hub or like scientific field, and then help to moderate. So if there are low quality papers, we have an expert who can essentially like remove them. And if it's like a kind of a paper milly type of situation where it's unclear if it's quality content, we can put peer review bounties on them. So in theory, like the community can decide for itself, like what is quality, what's not quality.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We have couple more questions.
Yeah, quick question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm curious why a system like Archive that's free wouldn't be enough to incentivize people to publish research if you can publish, say, on Archive, and then if it attracts enough attention, then you'll have enough of a name to publish future papers. So that's question one. And then question two is, how much today do people get from ResearchCoin? Is it enough to fund a salary, and how do you incentivize the token to have any value?
Yeah, so great questions. Thank you. The first one is an awesome one. Like Archive's amazing.
Repeat the questions also, because people couldn't hear it.
Yeah, sure. So the first question was like, why is Archive not enough? You know, why does there need to be, I guess, like a crypto incentive on top? And the second question, I'll do the first question first and then remind me of the second. The first is that like Archive's been around for a while. BioArchive, medRxiv have also. They're definitely like great options for sharing research in the open, but in practice, it's really hard to get funding if you just publish like a preprint, and that doesn't end up resulting in some kind of like high prestige publication. And so while in theory, it is like a good solution for the publishing side of things, it doesn't really fix sort of the financial reward infrastructure that encourages academics to partake in behaviors that result in the replication crisis. So at the end of the day, the real issue is that you need to financially reward scientists for producing high quality research, not necessarily like what is measured to be high quality. And once that happens, it would be sustainable to participate in like kind of open science practices. Because even in Archive, you're still publishing a whole paper. It's not like a live feed with open data where people can comment on your experimental methods along the way. And then what was the second question? Is how the value token? Cool. Yeah, so right now there.
Why not Archive?
The second question was about the value of the token, and is it enough to fund salaries and things like that?
So right now there's a couple utility statements within the token. You can tip people for the content you create. You can create ResearchCoin bounties. So in theory, like if a preprint is shared and you want a peer review on it, you can incentivize another scientist to do so. So in theory, we've had like people buy ResearchCoin because they want to have feedback about the projects that they're working on or help with some of the methods that they're trying to create in their own lab. We're also building a couple features right now. So we're planning to build a reference manager where in theory, like we'll have sort of like a freemium tier of features that help scientists like organize their literature and write it. And that could have people stake ResearchCoin in order to use. But we're still pre-product market fit, like very much so. As I mentioned, like we haven't even approached the problem of like kind of quasi low quality research yet. So we're still experimenting on like what the real value prop is for ResearchCoin, and more so like ResearchHub's application, where we'll start to see organic growth, and then like in theory we'll build tokenomic mechanisms around that value.
All right, one more question.
I have two related. So I have two related ones. So I guess the first one is, what about your platform and just the nature of like decentralization makes it such that you don't just replicate the same problems academics have within like an institution type of academic research? So like that's the first question of like, what about ResearchHub actually fixes the problems you're trying to solve? Because I could still see a situation in which somebody's incentivized to do bad research, but instead of grant money, it's RSC. And the second like follow-up question on the flip side is like, how do you communicate like if you're actually able to solve these problems and generate better research, how do you communicate though like that like reality to the larger like institutions like academia at large, so that they actually you actually get buy-in, so you actually like it's acceptable to cite a paper that's posted on ResearchHub as like something that you could put on any type of publication. And I guess the third question, which is more fun, you don't have to answer it, is what's your storage stack like? Is it decentralized? Yeah.
Yeah, no, so these are all great questions. Just write them down to make sure it's like storage stack. Cool. Yeah, thank you. These are awesome questions, probably some of my favorite ones. The first one I think is extremely important, which is like, how do we know that we're not just going to recreate the same like bad incentive structure that already exists? I think it's like pretty easy to look at like social media in general and realize how like there are these weird like incentive structures that kind of emerge over time that encourage like you know, not necessarily bad behavior, but like not exactly what you thought at the beginning. And so this is kind of like the third use case for ResearchCoin, which is I think like slightly less compelling to the average non-power user. But essentially, we can have community voting around the reward algorithm and the reputation algorithm. So the way we think about this is the way we reward content on ResearchHub is dynamic and will change into perpetuity. Because in theory, like the financial incentives that would encourage the best behavior when our community is kind of like small and ragtag and like early career grad students is way different than it would be like when you have like a solid representation of all of academia, which would be way different than like if you had like half of academia. And the world changes all the time. So the beauty of this approach is you can let people have a say in how they're rewarded and understand that like the rewards will change over time. So instead of like having a measure that's become a target, we can just acknowledge that like, hey, we've got a target and we're going to move this thing until, you know, we end up getting the best results all the time. So
we have a few minutes left, so just answer them quickly.
Okay, sure. The second one is, I guess, how do we gain legitimacy within regular science, like the ivory tower, so to say? We've actually had like a lot of open science organizations reach out to work with us because they're thinking through these incentive problems as well, and they see tokens as like a powerful way to encourage healthy research behaviors. So I think like once we find product market fit, there's ways to find win-win relationships with organizations who do have like a good reputation within academia in order to like have some of their shine rub off on us because we're hopefully helping them accomplish their mission as well. And then our storage stack. Yeah, so ResearchHub right now is kind of like Web 2.5. Our like the way our web app is built is essentially the same as Reddit. So it's like Amazon, you know, S3 web servers contain all of the data. People accrue ResearchCoin on the site, kind of like karma essentially, and then you can withdraw this karma to Ethereum. We chose this structure because it's cheaper to ship new features when the database is centralized. So our plan is to essentially find product market fit, see what the actual value of ResearchHub is, and then build like a decentralized backend kind of over time as a secondary priority to like providing value to scientists.
Awesome. Well, let's all thank Patrick. All right. Yeah, of course. And you're welcome to stick around if you'd like. But we're going to move on to the DeSci Doge Prize. Well, actually, you should stick around for the DeSci Doge Prize. That would be good. All right.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. So, yeah, can you put him down and then throw our slides back up? Sure. All right. So now we have. Oh, did you end the call? Oh. Rejoin. So he can still be here. Yeah. And then just put him in the corner. Rejoin. Yeah. All right, so now we have Gunnar. And Gunnar is an artist in New York City who I've actually known for many, many years. And his paintings are rich and absurd in humor and pop culture. So he has this one painting that is about Nicolas Cage. That's Nicolas Cage. And we'll show it to you in a second here on the screen. And you can actually, he has a new gallery that he's just recently renovated himself. And it's all pitch black and very cool and interesting. So you should also go down to see it. It's in Chinatown, underneath the Manhattan Bridge. And this Friday from 6 to 8, you can see his grand opening for his store. And there's free booze there. So give us a round of applause for Gunnar.
All right, are we ready for the Sci Doge Awards? Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the annual ceremony of the Sci Doge Prizes, the only science award show where we break more rules of physics on stage than in our own research. Now, before you rush to go check if you're in the right place, remember at our award show, not only do we celebrate the mind-bending marvels of scientific discovery, we also honor the countless coffee spillages, failed experiments, and the notoriously rebellious paperclip sculptures that make the journey to those discoveries. Okay, so tonight we are here to celebrate folks who have turned the ordinary into the extraordinary, who took the phrase "to the moon" quite literally. Our esteemed laureates haven't just made achievements in science, they've also made significant gains in the value of their Dogecoin wallets. I'm your host for the night, and no, I'm not a product of AI or blockchain technology, though sometimes I wish I was. With my luck, I'd probably end up in the block head chain. Woo! At this momentous event, we salute the Einsteins, the Curies, the Newtons, but also the oops, the what the, and of course the timeless Eureka. We remember the light bulb moments, literally the moments when the lab lights flicker. As we all know, it's time to evacuate. But amidst all the silliness, remember, science is the key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe. And so tonight we raise our beakers, petri dishes, and Bunsen burners in a toast to the wild, wacky, and wonderful world of science. We applaud our brilliant laureates who make science a little less intimidating and a whole lot more fun. Tonight we will be handing out 7 awards in the categories of physics, medicine, chemistry, economics, math, literature, and peace. Oh yeah,
There we go.
Slides. And peace. Okay, first up is physics.
Physics is first.
Here we go. So, prepare for a relative spike in your adrenaline as we quantum leap into the realm of physics. Next, we honor the minds who don't just gravitate towards success, they also accelerated us into the new era of understanding. Let's wave our hands high for these luminaries as we pull back the curtain to reveal the Sci Doge Prize for advancements in the field of physics. Tonight's winner hasn't just been shooting for the stars, they've been on the hunt for our cosmic neighbors, those elusive aliens and their UFOs. This Sci Doge Award for advancement in physics goes to, drum roll echoing across the universe, Future Folklore! Please come up.
Wait. All right, come on. All right, so we've got you this prize here, and we have also have you a toast with these custom DeSci NYC cups.
Amazing.
Oh wait, rude. Come over here, and then we'll all get a picture together, and then don't point it at us though. Point it that way. Tell me Gunnar. All right, so we'll get a picture here. All right, and then ready? Cheers. Go. Should I do it? Go.
Wow!
Yay! Yep.
Okay, hold on to your follicles and hair nets because our next winner has roots that run deep in the field of medicine. They've tussled with tradition, they've brushed up against the unknown, and they have truly let down their hair to bring us groundbreaking work in medicine. Get ready for a hair-raising round of applause as the Sci Doge Prize for Advancements in Medicine goes to, drumroll, Hair Down!
It's the next story.
What?
It's the next.
Oh, yes.
And this is your champagne.
So there's medicine, hair down. All right. Three. Wait, we get a picture. 3, 2, 1. Cheers.
Okay. So, all right, folks, let's react with excitement as we dive into the solution of scientific innovation, chemistry.
Andrew, did you get this going? Okay.
Breathe in some O2 as we spark up for one of our noble winners who's got that gas. The Sci Doge Prize for Advancements in Medicine goes to Cannabis Now.
Woo! Okay, so fortunately, Cannabis Now is based in Japan, but in their honor, we will tell them about it soon.
So that brings us to next. It's time to invest your attention as we capitalize on the extraordinary progress in the field of economics. We're here to credit the brilliant minds who have been balancing the books of our understanding. They've been mining crypto-economic solutions, decrypting coordination problems, and truly ledgering the way in economics of the digital era. The Sci Doge Prize for Advancements in Economics goes to the Mechanism Institute.
Woo! And Mechanism Institute is very cool. They're basically like looking at every single crypto economic incentive out there and making it publicly open source. You can find them at mechanism.institute, and you can find Cannabis DAO. I don't remember their website, but I will post it on our Twitter.
Folks, let's prepare to count your excitement as we add up to the pinnacle of numerical innovation, mathematics. Our winner is a true champion of hidden figures, mastering private multi-sig with hidden owners, making them the sum heroes of our time. The Sci Doge Prize for Advancements in Mathematics goes to ZK Shield.
Woo! ZK Shield is very interesting. They have this new thing where you can trade assets and be protected while you're doing it, and they're really doing some interesting stuff in math and ZK.
Nice. Next up.
Next up.
Let's turn the page into the realm of literature and scientific publishing. Our winner penned down knowledge, inked insights, and turned complex concepts into paperback wisdom. Get ready to cover them with applause. The Sci Doge Prize for Advancements in Literature and Scientific Publishing goes to ResearchHub.
Can we get Justin, can we get Patrick back? Is he still there? Patrick, are you still there?
Did we lose you, Patrick?
Yeah, we moved. Oh, we lost him. Oh, all right. All right. Well, ResearchHub.
Lastly, hold your fire. As we cease hostilities to celebrate advancements in the realms of peace, put down the peace pipe and put up your two fingies as we award the final Sci Doge Prize tonight. Through their click and mortar efforts, our winner has been uploading harmony, building a governance layer for the worldwide peace. The award goes to Metagov.
Woo! Metagov is also very interesting. They're looking at all sorts of new types of governance on chain, and they have a very cool website where they've documented it all publicly. So I'd encourage everyone to check that out too.
Yep. So now let's get the winners back up here, upstage, and stage a little photo op.
Yay! Come back, Andrew. Frontier. Joel, oh, Joel, there you go. Andrew. Everyone on, back. Then we'll get a quick picture. Bring the cups. Oh yeah, lots of cups. Cups. Toast. Come, yeah. Everyone. Cheer.
1, 2, 3. One more. 2 more. Nice. Good. Yeah, perfect.
Yay! Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming out tonight. And if you have any questions, make sure to check out our website, DeSci NYC. Make sure to come to the next event and continue to chat with each other and mingle. And we'll close it up in like 15, 20 minutes. But thank you all for coming out, and a round of applause for the first ever DeSci Judge winners. Woo!
Thank you.
Turn on. What's your brush? Patrick, congrats, you did it. Justin, oh, can we just what's his name? I'm back now. Okay. But I'm back now. Yeah, look. Because we're gonna just even more. Yes, thank you.
It's my place.
Oh, this is you?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Whatever? Okay, yeah.
I'll be back for now.
Yeah.